from return on investment to transformational partnership. We have a dense session today. We'll cover the agenda in a minute with speakers internal and external, focusing on maximizing community partnership schools impact. If we can go to the next slide. So welcome, and I'm going to share, and we're glad you're here, guys. Each of you guys in each of your places, directors, coordinators, cabinet members, core partners. We welcome you guys. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have to be off camera as you might be driving, we totally understand. But I'm going to start off with a quote, and it's from the book Good to Great. If you want to go back and reference it, it's a paraphrase from the chapter First Who, Then What. Those who build great organizations make sure they have the right people on the bus and the right people in the key seats before they figure out where to drive the bus. I share that quote because I think that you guys are the right people, right? And for a time as this, to navigate different things in education, to navigate partnerships, and sometimes it gets a little tough, right? So we understand, and we stand with you and stand beside you. But you guys are the right people. So now we're going to steer the bus the right way in the right direction and get positive outcomes for students and families. So we hope to provide information and motivation from each. We hope to provide information and motivation for each of our partnerships to optimize. Next slide, please. So our agenda for today, we're going to start off we just did a quick introduction. We'll go into CPS video, which is an original video we've done to cover kind of the historical landmarks of community partnership schools in Florida. We are going to cover balancing standardization and differentiation at CPS. We're going to focus on some strategic objectives, the power of partnership, social determinants of health, community schools, training academy, and then a breakout session using Padlet, but you'll have facilitators in your room. And then we'll have a closing remarks, and we do have a closing survey. So we do want you to stick around and complete that survey. Next slide, please. So here's a quick introduction to the Technical Assistance House. I am the Assistant Director over Technical Assistance. We have Mr. Javaris Yarns, that's a lead program manager. We have Ms. Jody Baez, program manager for TA for our direct sites. Ms. Justine Jordan for Central, and Ms. Amanda Kern supporting us as an administrative coordinator. So meeting procedures, most of you guys are familiar with these. We ask that everybody is engaged, so actively engaged, whether it's through the chat. Obviously, if you're driving, we understand. Be present. We do also understand that this is a later in the day meeting, and it also is an hour and a half, right? So if you have to go to the restroom, you got to get a drink of water, stretch break, we understand. But as much as you can, be present, be open. So maintain an open mindset, be receptive. Ask, what can I get out of today's meeting? Go after what you need. And then lastly, be reflective. Ask clarifying questions, and then reach out to your TA if you have any additional questions. Next, please. So a couple of technical assistance calendar updates. You can scan the QR code. It'll take you directly to our live calendar or our Canvas calendar, which is a Canvas microsite. But a couple of the points that I'll cover today are the Principal and Director Institute on March 4th. We are organizing through Wova. It's also in the chat, which just popped in there. We have our fundamentals one-on-one on April 7th. We have a CPS Director quarterly reports due on April 13th. And then a couple updates. We have the CPS Director call on April 14th at 9 a.m. Principal and School District Networking call May 6th at 3:30. University call. Sorry, the chat popped up right in the middle on May 21st at 10 a.m. And then the healthcare networking call on the 21st at 3 p.m. Next slide, please. We do understand that part of engagement and active listening for some of you will be note taking and things of that sort. We are recording this meeting. We will send a circle back. So we will have a lot of the notes captured for you. But if you do want to take notes, jot things down, things you want to dig into deeper. You can feel free to take notes on your pad, but we will have a circle back that'll go out to each of you after this meeting. There will also be links to our training academy. So now we'll launch into the video. As I mentioned, the development of community partnership schools in Florida. If we can play it, team.
Every student deserves the opportunity to thrive. Yet across the United States, too many children face barriers to learning that schools alone cannot overcome. Challenges like housing insecurity, hunger, and limited access to healthcare. In Florida, visionary leaders imagined a new approach, one rooted in lasting partnerships between schools and their communities. This vision inspired the growth of the Community Partnership Schools model, a strategy that transforms schools into welcoming hubs supported by the entire community, where students and families can thrive.
Florida's community schools journey began in 2009 when leaders from the Children's Home Society of Florida and the University of Central Florida traveled to New York to study the community schools approach. They were searching for a transformational strategy to meet the needs of children and families facing high levels of risk. They returned with a bold plan to pilot the strategy here in Florida, starting with one school. In 2010, Evans High School, located in the Pine Hills neighborhood of Orlando, became that pilot site. At one time, Evans' graduation rate had dropped below 50%. Students faced hunger, illness, and violence that made learning difficult. But Orange County Public Schools, CHS, and UCF were committed to change. Together, they signed an unprecedented 25-year partnership to work closely with the community and coordinate essential resources right on campus so students could focus on learning. A local healthcare organization soon joined the partnership, completing the circle of support. Once the partnership took hold, transformation followed. Students could visit a health or dental clinic by walking down the hall. They had everyday access to food, clothing, and school supplies. For those struggling with trauma or instability, mental health counselors were available and trusted. After-school tutoring provided new academic gains and confidence.
The impact was undeniable. Evans' graduation rate rose from 64% in 2010 to 98% by 2019. Local crime around the school declined, and student engagement soared. Seeing this success, the Florida legislature made its first investment of $400,000 to strengthen the Evans initiative. Momentum grew quickly. Principals and district leaders across Florida saw what was possible and wanted the same for their communities. High school students even traveled to Tallahassee to share their stories with lawmakers, stories that deeply moved everyone who heard them. In 2014, the Florida legislature invested $685,000 to establish the UCF Center for Community Schools, laying the groundwork for a statewide model and providing planning grants for new sites. With support from the center, the approach became known as the Community Partnership Schools, or CPS model.
Each CPS site weaves together 4 pillars: collaborative leadership, expanded learning opportunities, integrated wellness supports, and family and community engagement. To carry out these pillars, each school is sustained by 4 long-term partners: a school district, a nonprofit, a university or college, and a healthcare organization. Support that mirrors the original partnership at Evans and ensures long-term sustainability. The UCF Center also developed a certification process to guide each school in implementing the model with fidelity and excellence while being adaptable to each community.
As the model spread, demand quickly outpaced available funding. In 2019, Florida legislators took a historic step by establishing the Community School Grant Program through State Statute 1003.64, formally embedding the Community Partnership Schools model in state policy. The legislature also expanded annual funding to $7 million to support a more strategic statewide rollout.
Today, the results speak for themselves. From one high school in Orlando, Florida's community partnership schools have grown into a statewide network of 50 schools across more than 20 districts, with 20 CPS schools achieving full certification by 2025. The initiative now includes more than 9 nonprofits, 27 healthcare organizations, 22 universities or colleges, and countless local partners.
Sustained by $20 million in annual state funding and matched local community investment at each site, the CPS model continues to strengthen communities and change lives. Each year, a CPS Day at the Capitol brings students, educators, and leaders together to celebrate progress and share stories of impact.
Florida's Community Partnership Schools initiative is a testament to what's possible when partners at every level are committed to a shared vision.
Together, we are proving that when an entire village comes together for its children, every student can thrive in school and in life.
Perfect. Thank you. And that link, the link to that video was shared in the chat as well. So it's available to you. An easy way to onboard, send out onboard to community schools in your area, and just tell the story. As it's important to use some of the documented resources in that way. Thank you, Dr. Groves. All right, we can continue to the next slide. I'll be your first guest speaker of the day, and we are going to focus on balancing standardization and differentiation in community partnership schools. This is a focus on fidelity to the community partnership schools model. We can go to the next slide. We're all familiar with the quote of community schools: when you've seen one, you've only seen one. I'm not looking to debunk that because there is differentiation in every single community school across the nation, but I want to focus on community partnership schools today. So there's a difference between the global model of community schools and what we have here in Florida, which is community partnership schools. We can continue to the next slide. So my goal today is to draw the comparison between community partnership schools and a bicycle. And bear with me, I'm going to make the connection. But the bicycle itself, you see there's tons of different types of bikes here. But the bicycle itself has very common infrastructure that I want to focus on in comparison to the model. But then the adaptability component, which is more of your programming and processes. But let's focus on the bicycle itself. The adaptability is customizable. The infrastructure is the frame, the tires. But the objective is to balance both, right? So a balance fidelity with your school-wide or school-level flexibility. Next slide, please. So on a bicycle, let's just use these illustrations here. Some of the things that I would consider infrastructure are the frame, the tires, the crank, the chain, the handles, the seat, and then some of the adaptable things. And before we go there, call into mind your favorite childhood bicycle, whether it's a BMX, a mongoose, a mountain bike, a racing bike, a beach cruiser, whatever type of bike, call into mind that bike, right? And then think about these things: infrastructure, frame, tires, crank, chain, handles, and a seat. But some of the adaptable components of a bike are color, tire size, frame design, lights and reflector, spoke design, mountain bike jumping off dirt piles. I see that one in the chat. I'm sure we all probably have some accidents on bikes too. And then we can continue to the next slide. On the infrastructure side, these are some of your most essential components. But then when you get to adaptability, those are the things that really align to the when you've seen one, you've only seen one. So similar to the first bike, the infrastructure aligns to the community partnership school pillars or 6 essentials that you might know nationally: certification standards and process, deliverables, committee structure, communication, and relationships. You'll see that at every community school and at every community partnership school. But some of your adaptability will be in programs that I actually pull from your sites. BMX freestyle, I see. So keep those bikes in your mind, but bear with me as I draw this comparison. So Redefiners World Languages, Palm program for parent incentive points, Goodwill and DJJ job prep, student health ambassadors, achievers with dreams at Webster, which is expanded learning. So your infrastructure at elementary school, high school, K-12, K-8 will be about the same, but some of your adaptability will be in the programming or even how you do things or locations. So we can continue to the next slide. Because some of you guys might be thinking, as I saw BMX, beach cruisers, dirt bikes, jumping off hills, some of you guys might be thinking, well, that's not my type of bike. But we can go back to the second bike or third bike. You might be thinking, that's not my type of bike. But it doesn't matter about the what type of bike. The infrastructure still should be the same. It doesn't even matter about the location. So the community partnership school pillars still should be there. The certification standards and process still should be there. Deliverables still should be there. Committees and committee structure still should be there. Communication and relationships. Relationships is almost the undercurrent to everything that's listed above. But then some of your adaptability is also your redefiners, world language, PALM program, Goodwill and DJJ job prep, student ambassadors, as well as achievers with dreams, which is an expanded learning program. But we could put any bike in this category. We'll continue to the next slide. And the infrastructure for community partnership schools should be about the same. So one of the things I want you to consider, the components of the infrastructure of a community partnership school are kind of your pillars and your essential standards that has the embedded fundamental practices, deliverable standards, staffing, partner structure. Those are some of your things that are essential. Those are your fundamentals, so to speak. So components that must exist in every community school, like a real bike, needs a frame, chain, wheels, and handlebars, are your 4 pillars and 6 essentials. The national building blocks is considered the 6 essentials versus the 4 pillars. So they've kind of advanced upon the 4 pillars model. But your 12 standards is going to be in every community partnership school as well. By year 5, we don't anticipate that you'll do it in year 1 or year 2, but by year 5, the 12 standards should be evident. We can go to the next slide. All right. I'm gonna go a little fast because I'm getting close on time. But the bicycle alignment, these are some of the, as I mentioned, we're going to send the circle back. These are some of the essential things that you can compare to with each of your components in a community partnership school. This is the infrastructure. We'll fast forward. We'll go to about 3 more slides, I think. I want to show you some of the adaptability. I talked about redefiners. I talked about tire size. I talked about some of the different things that could change. The infrastructure stays the same. The adaptability is based on your community needs assessment and asset map. So we don't necessarily have to skip to those slides specifically because I have it memorized. But community needs assessment and asset map, it can still inform what you do with your infrastructure, right? The infrastructure should be about the same, but it's how you build upon it that's going to help to change it. So you might have a AP on some of your committees versus a principal. You might have certain components that are in place versus other things because your community calls for it. But the infrastructure is built. The infrastructure, this is a trademark model. So the community partnership school should be very similar across the board by year 5. And let me see if we can skip ahead to maybe one more slide. I don't know if it's stuck. So skip ahead to the needs assessment and asset map one. I think it's one more backwards. So as I mentioned, it'll help you with your informed decision making. So we like to do a needs and asset map because there are assets in each community that are doing some of this work, and we're partnering with them. But it's going to help inform your decision making. But what comes along with the model, it comes along with the territory. But the adaptability or differentiation plays in here. So I'll wrap there, and I'll introduce our next speaker. So hopefully you guys have kind of the mind frame of the BMX bike that you had as a kid, the mountain bike, the beach cruiser. The frame is about the same. My tires might be a little bigger than yours. I might have different brakes. I might have different gears. I might have a different color. The components might be a little different. Without further ado, I'll pass it to Ms. Jody Baez with our Technical Assistance House.
Hello, everyone. Like Alexia said, my name's Jody Bias. I think I've probably met many of you, but if I haven't, I hope to meet you sometime in the future very soon. I am one of the TA program managers at the UCF Center for Community Schools. And I love to actually talk about data and outcomes. So this was the perfect topic for me to take on. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. There have been a lot of there's been a lot of research and a lot of oh my gosh, different like studies that have been done on the outcomes of community schools at large. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But the purpose of community schools, and specifically today we're talking about CPS, community partnership schools, but the purpose is to transform communities, transform schools. So it's more than just isolated services or layering on more programs, which a lot of times when you're explaining what community schools is to somebody that has never been exposed to it, from the outside, that's what it can look like, but it's so much more than that. It is about transformative change, sustainable systems change that can function even when there are funding shifts or funding cliffs. Even when initiatives, in the community or the school district end, and even when there are staff changes. So we're looking for that transformative change. Go ahead and next slide, please. So we're going to be putting in the chat a bunch of research about the effectiveness of community schools. And so you can see that there and you can check out all of this. You may have been exposed to it before, but there is a lot of research that shows that this collaborative model of community schools can bring some really good outcomes that we're all striving for. We also, the next slide, we also have similar research specifically about community partnership schools. So our model here, and this is part of our advocacy paperwork that we put together that we used at Day at the Capitol this year. But, the outcomes are really positive. But the outcomes are not easy to achieve. So we want to be talking about that today. How do we achieve these awesome outcomes that we're seeing? So you can see when you're comparing even to Title I schools, so it's more similarities of the school type. We, community partnership schools, had a negative 2% in chronic absenteeism. Don't let the word negative fool you. That's a positive outcome. That's what we're striving to achieve, as compared to other Title I schools that are not CPS, where absenteeism increased by 6%, going in the wrong direction. That's a huge one I know right now, just trying to get, kids to attend school so that they can, take advantage of the learning, that can happen there is a huge challenge. You can see some of the other outcomes there, but overall, you get the picture that's being painted is that there are some really good outcomes that we're achieving through community partnership schools. So everybody go ahead and put a pat on your back because all of you are a part of gaining those outcomes. Next slide. But like I said, those outcomes are not easy to achieve. It takes years. I think that Alexia's talked a little bit about that. Like it takes years to really get a fully formed, well-functioning community partnership school where everybody understands and is really integrated into the partnership. So our common language when we're talking about outcomes in community partnership schools tends to be centered around the ABC data, attendance, behavior, and curriculum. And that tends to be what we look at. And it's kind of a shared focus for our work. So go ahead to the next slide. So within CPS, some of you may have heard of this, but we use the Learning Circle platform. Where we are able to access data on the ABCs, like I just talked about, in order to be able to tell, along the way, how are we doing? Are we really making a difference? And using that data to really analyze the goals, the strategic goals that we have put in place so that we can continue to strive toward those outcomes in an intentional manner. Now, not everybody has the data sharing agreement for the Learning Circle platform. We're getting more and more of those done every day. But if you don't have the access to that platform, there are still other ways to access the data that can help us to, kind of steer. I'm going to use Alexius's analogy, steer our bicycles in the right direction. You can use MTSS. There are lots of different dashboards that partners can bring to us. The needs assessment, asset mapping. There's lots of data that we can use to like really kind of be the pathway to inform us as to whether we're really on the right path to getting some of the outcomes that I talked about earlier. So go ahead to the next slide. So partnerships are really integral to this process. And we're going to have some people talking after me a little bit more about the partnerships, but in order to achieve those outcomes that are not easy to achieve, a 2% increase in or decrease in chronic absenteeism may not sound like a big number, but it's a huge difference when you think about the number of students that you're making a huge difference in their lives by getting them to attend school where there may have been challenges before. So it's making huge differences, but it's not easy to do, and it has to be done through integrated partnerships that aren't just kind of happening on the fringe of school. We're not just on the outskirts of what's happening in school, but we are really integrated within the school. We're there to reinforce their school-wide priorities. And we're really sharing in the accountability for the outcomes. So again, we're wanting to move from just kind of transactional partnerships where I do this, you do that, into more integrated partnerships. And I know that we throw around that term a lot. So I wanted to just give an example of what that looks like. So next slide, please. So integrated partnerships, again, chronic absenteeism, we've talked about that a little bit already. So in this graphic, in the middle is chronic absenteeism, but you can see through this graphic, there's not a single partner within CPS that owns the challenge of chronic absenteeism. Every one of the partners sitting at the table with us owns that problem and owns that outcome, and everyone is contributing kind of through their expertise and through their lens can contribute to the problem of chronic absenteeism. And that's just an example, but any of the challenges that is facing a school or a community of students at that school, really, it is the entire partnership that takes that problem on and contributes to how are we going to solve this problem for our school and our community. And that is how you get the awesome outcomes that we're talking about. It has to be through all of the partners being invested and taking accountability for the outcomes. Next slide. So this is just, again, what does it mean to be integrated, right? I was thinking about this. I tend to listen to podcasts when I walk my dog. So I'm just going to give you an example from my own personal life. I was listening to a podcast that had nothing to do with community partnership schools. I think it was about like working out or something. I don't know what it was. But as I was listening, they started talking about health outcomes for people. They were talking about adults who have chronic trauma in their background, right? So adverse childhood experiences, all of those things that you may have, been exposed to. But as I was thinking about that, I was like, oh my gosh, if we know that these are some of the challenges and some of the outcomes, some negative outcomes that come from having a lot of trauma in your life, in earlier life, this is something definitely that a community partnership school could be tackling. So this is something in my brain. I was like, oh, this should definitely be, part of the conversations in the cabinet. My point is that when you're really integrated as a partner, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a staff meeting, you're sitting in a conference that's related to your type of work. you're always thinking in the back of your head, I wonder if that's something that could be brought into the community partnership school model. Maybe I should bring this up and discuss it at cabinet. It's almost like you can't separate it anymore because everything that you're hearing, you understand is something that could affect the outcomes of our youth and our students and our communities that we work with. So there's there is inspiration everywhere for how can we integrate the work that we do into community partnership schools. Next slide. All right, so this just kind of walks you through the power of partnerships, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, but in order to get the outcomes that we all sitting, we're all here because we want those outcomes and we want to be a part of that kind of transformative change in our communities. And this is how you do it. You really have to integrate together in your partnership and have shared ownership. So all the way from, the initial partnerships that are formed early on in a community school, all the way through like building those partnerships, having equal ownership, equal stakes at the table, and that is what is going to drive change. So the next guests that we have, Javaris Yarns and Ukitha Montgomery, I'm not sure which one's going first, but they are going to talk a little bit more about the power of partnerships.
We can advance to the next slide. All right, so I know we talked about bicycles earlier. I posted in the chat I had an orange mountain bike. I probably should have kept the training wheels on because I've wrecked everything on two wheels. So we're gonna keep the bicycle in mind. So when we talk about community partnership schools, we often talk about services, programs, and support systems. But the research is clear. Community schools do not succeed because of programs. They succeed because of structured collaboration. The Coalition for Community Schools identifies collaborative leadership as a core feature, not an accessory. It is the condition that enables students to learn. So today it's not about participation. It's about where we're building a system strong enough to sustain impact. Community partnership schools do not succeed because of services. They succeed because of structure. If we remove structured collaboration, the model collapses into just programming. But if we build structured collaboration, the model becomes sustainable infrastructure. All right. So this presentation is not about adding more work. It's about strengthening the foundation of the work. And the foundation determines the longevity. Next slide. In addition to the previous research, the research is not subtle, okay? Linthwood's work on school leadership demonstrates that redesigning school culture through collaborative structures has a measurable effect on student achievement. We all love student achievement. What we found in the research was that Chicago schools that were strong in essential supports were 10 times more likely to show substantial gains in reading and math. 10 times. All right. I'm an ELA person, okay? Now you're probably asking, Javaris, what are those supports? Well, let me tell you. Those supports are strong leadership, professional capacity, parent community ties, and instructional climate. Notice what is embedded in all of them. Relationships. Professional learning communities, we know them as PLCs, improve instructional capacity. Relational trust improves teacher efficacy, and teacher efficacy improves student outcomes. Now, here's the most important part I want you to take from all of this. Relationships are the engine behind every support point listed. PLCs, relational trust, teacher efficacy, they all depend on strong human connection. In community partnership schools, that same principle scales beyond teachers to principals, directors, families, and core partners. Because collaboration isn't soft leadership, it's the leverage that aligns adults, strengthens instruction, and ultimately improves student outcomes. Next slide, and I'm going to pass it over to my co-pilot, Yukita.
Hi, everyone. Most of you all know me, but I am Ukitha Montgomery, and I serve as a program manager here at the Center for Community Schools. So I'm just going to dive straight in to pick up where Javaris left off. As you all can see on the screen, here's just a general overview of what each partner can contribute to the community partnership school model. The schools cannot address academic challenges without addressing social and emotional and basic needs. And we know that we see a lot of that in our day-to-day operations as a part of the community partnership school model employees. Partners bring that specialized knowledge that educators don't always have. And when partners are aligned, student experience seamless support is provided. So as the statement says at the bottom, when one pillar weakens, the system destabilizes. Next slide, please. So here we've laid out a communication flow chart. So think of this as the chains of the bicycle, where you have your committees that are in the community partnership school model. So we know that the cabinet is responsible for setting direction. Operations team, I like to define it as the boots on the ground team. They turn the direction into coordinated action. And then the CLC is responsible for the ears, having the ears and eyes and getting the word back and making sure that the work stays grounded to the community, because after all, we are doing it for the children and the families that we serve and then in the community that we live with. So this feedback loop keeps the communication moving upward and downward so that decisions are informed, responsive, and aligned. And in these respective committees, your partners can serve as chair and co-chair. One, it supports the director, but two, equal stake and responsibility means that they are engaged, and that way they will show up for you. Next slide, please. So here is just collaborative leadership teams exercising decision-making authority, the structure aligned strategy, data review, and continuous improvement, because we always want to get better. We always doing this for some type of impact. We want to see growth. The principals and directors, they co-lead cross-sector model integration, and collaboration moves from transactional to transformational when ownership is shared. Next slide, please. So we said all of that to say, in order to elevate engagement to ownership, sustainability is achieved through intentional alignment, shared ownership, and disciplined partnership. It is not by accident, it is by design. Work must be integrated and not isolated. That's how we're going to maintain coherence and continue to see impact. Partners need shared metrics and transparent data review cycles to drive accountability and continuous improvement. And then once again, effective collaboration will drive long-term sustainability. So we want your schools to grow far beyond your tenure, and we want our families and students to thrive. Next slide, please. And we'll move on to our next presenter, which is Ms. Paige Stanton.
I'm going to give a quick intro to Paige. So Paige Stanton is a dedicated and energetic nonprofit executive, currently leading UF Health St. John's Care Connect. With significant experience in nonprofit development, growth, and programming, Paige has proven record of fostering organizational growth through innovation and managing large teams effectively. Paige serves on the cabinet of Webster and Southwoods. And without further ado, Ms. Paige Stanton.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? Hanging in there. Thumbs up, smile, whatever you want to interact with. I've got 10 minutes to present, and I'm going to do my best to condense. Fabulous. I love to see the interaction. I've got 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to condense a lot into 10 minutes. But if there are questions or anything that you would like to follow up with me on after this call, please feel free to reach out via email. I'll drop it in the chat, but happy to have conversations with you all. So I'm going to talk about today a model that we deployed early on before our schools were certified, Southwoods and Webster, that addresses social determinants of health and how that impacted both the certification and success of our community partnership schools, how we achieve that and how we keep that moving forward, and what that potentially could look like in your schools as well. We all know that the whole person approach is the best approach. That's why we're all here and invested in community partnership schools. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Next slide, please. All right, so just a little bit of background about what we do here at St. John's Care Connect. We are a little bit unique. I am part of the UF Health family here at St. John's, formerly Flagler Health. I oversee our Community Health Improvement Department, which is the arm that deals in all of our community initiatives and community benefit. Early on, when social determinants of health was sort of a hot topic, back in 2016, there was a lot of research coming out about that and how it impacts individuals, their health, both physical, mental, and spiritual. It was identified that there were a lot of barriers to what these individuals needed, navigating those systems, both clinical systems, social services systems. There was a lot of difficulty, and this is certainly something that I'm sure you've all experienced. It's not unique. It happens all over the place. We have a lot of supports in place, but a lot of supports that can be oftentimes overwhelming to navigate. And so Care Connect was born out of this idea, looking at our community health needs assessment here in St. Johns County and understanding what could we do as a hospital to be the vehicle to help bridge these gaps in our community. That would have meant, meaningful change for us as a hospital as well, looking at things like reducing chronic illnesses, visits to the emergency room, unnecessary utilization, right? So this is a very meaningful thing for us to do as a healthcare system. And so we created Care Connect to be the vehicle to do that, both with our hospital and in the community. So a couple of things, here's what we do. We remove those systemic barriers to access. Again, all about eliminating those obstacles that potentially prevent individuals from getting the assistance that they need. I think I always paint the picture, it's a tale as old as time, and what we often see, a good example of this is, we had a gentleman who was frequenting our hospital. He was coming back for IV infusions for an open wound that he had. He was also at the same time trying to care for his grandchildren because their parents had passed away. And so this gentleman kept coming back because he kept having issues with the infection that he had in his leg. Lo and behold, he kept showing up at the emergency room because he did not have transportation. And it ended up being because it was a diabetic foot ulcer that wouldn't close. And so he also wasn't getting the proper support, medication, and assistance because he couldn't afford it. Therefore, he kept returning. He kept missing out on other opportunities with his grandchildren, struggling to keep up with financial bills because he had all of his attention poured into needing support for his foot when if we were able to help bridge the gap with transportation, medication assistance, and then proper education, we could help this individual get back on the track of supporting himself and his family. And so that's just what we did in that situation. But I think that paints a good picture of all the social determinants of health, right, that play a factor in this and things that we see. St. John's Care Connect also is here to expand access to mental health care, prevent and reduce homelessness, and optimize community resource. So really looking at all of the resources that we have in the community and making sure that we're using them effectively and efficiently, not duplicating services. There's a lot of folks that do a lot of great in our community, but how do we make sure that we're managing the flow in and out and leveraging those services effectively? So essentially, Care Connect, in short, acts as the community hub, the doorway, the entry point for individuals to come to be able to reach out for assistance, and then we help guide them throughout that process and address all of these different social determinants of health within our county. Next slide, please. Okay, so the reality and just tying this back into the community partnership school model and why this was an effective way to operate when we joined as the healthcare partner in the very beginning with Southwoods and Webster. Again, the reality, social determinants of health show up in schools first. You all see it firsthand, and you're oftentimes first in line to receive families that are at a loss for what to do next in these experiences. Things like anxiety, depression, trauma, housing instability, food insecurity, lack of access to their primary care, a lot of stress on the caregiver. That's something that we often see, right? Schools are where children spend the vast majority of their time and where unmet needs surface the earliest. And so that is where we should be meeting them with these resources first. I put a couple of statistics. I won't read those for the sake of time, just about a snapshot of what's going on in Florida. But just give me a thumbs up or a whatever icon if one of those resonates with you, because you see those things often within your students, your schools, your families, right? These all relate to the strain that we feel and that we see every day with our families. Next slide, please. So why Care Connect? right? So it was identified early on that this was a little bit more unique than the traditional path of just being the healthcare provider for the school district, or excuse me, the community partnership school model. We wanted to go above and beyond and leverage the program that we were developing at the same time that we were continuing to grow our community partnership schools. We wanted to be both the healthcare provider, both for the physical health of the family, but for the whole person health as well, because we know that and understand that those things are so critically linked together. We wanted to be able, again, like I said, it starts first. You all see it in the schools first. The students are there. They're oftentimes bringing issues to you that nobody knew existed previously. And so how do we address those things right in the moment? Care Connect was a good answer to that and a good way to deploy and be a link across all of our community partnership agencies within St. Johns County. So we set out to put a wellness coordinator at the time, a singular coordinator that was sort of part-time in our community partnership schools that would also help to families to navigate the social determinants of health aspect. So they would help both do vision, dental, linking them to primary care. But in addition to that, a full social needs assessment where we would be able to then leverage our community partners within our Care Connect information network to send live referrals so that that family could be received. And so again, here are just some points on why Care Connect works. Again, intervening upstream before we get to a more crisis level. For example, food insecurity can lead to many other things further down the line if that's not first met. And that's something we can often do within the school right then and there. We could talk to families and reach them where they're at. And oftentimes in a setting that is secure to them, in a setting that they're very familiar with, and that's very important to us. We can provide those wraparound services. All of this work aligns with our community health needs assessment. And again, looking at reducing long-term healthcare utilization, whether that's usage of the emergency room, behavioral health crises, and chronic absenteeism linked to health issues, right? So this all ties together in addressing those social determinants of health. Next slide. Again, a unique position. Some of this I've touched on, but as a community-based hospital, we have a responsibility to serve and give back to our community. As a leader in St. Johns County, we have a responsibility to both address when there's an immediate health need and also to help bridge so that there are long-term supports in place so that families can flourish and thrive in their community where they're at. And so that is what we're doing here in St. Johns County by having our Care Connect infrastructure and wellness coordinators embedded in our community partnership schools. Today, we have 2 wellness coordinators that are full-time based in both Webster and Southwoods. I've got pictures from some of our team here. That's Keisha. She's our wellness coordinator over at Southwoods. Again, this grew from 1 based off of the need that we were seeing in those schools. And so as we assessed and the needs assessments were being conducted, we realized that part-time wasn't going to cut it. And we had families at both schools that needed a full-time wellness coordinator embedded there. Something that I like to mention when we're talking about addressing social determinants of health as a healthcare system, and I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about this before, but again, we have to conduct a community health needs assessment. We have to provide that community support. When you're talking to your healthcare partners, especially the ones that are nonprofit, I think this is an important piece to bring up because they have to conduct it as well. The community partnership model fits within the infrastructure of every community health needs assessment because it's addressing the immediate needs that we're identifying in the community. It goes hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right? It just makes sense. And so when you are speaking with a healthcare partner, make sure to address, look at their community health needs assessment, look and see what those things are that they've identified as gaps in their community, and how can they as a hospital leverage their resources to support the community partnership school. That is how we ended up with our wellness coordinators, Keisha and Von Schell in our schools, because that filled a need to fit all of those gaps that we were seeing within our community health needs assessment. And that's what they've done just there. Next slide. Again, a holistic approach to wellness. A little bit more there. Some of our kiddos, they're okay to put their picture up in this PowerPoint. But again, connecting families to essential services, a little bit more about the infrastructure that we provide at Care Connect. We have built out from a very small network that we started out with of community-based organizations that provide services. We started out with a handful that is now over 120 community-based organizations that are across the state of Florida that serve various social determinants of health. And we have assessed and embedded those partners within our Care Connect model based off of the data, the live data that we're seeing and the need that we're seeing in the communities that we serve. And so once a agency joins the Care Connect information network, that's how we can then connect them to the services. So our team has the ability to go into our system, be able to send a live referral, have someone receive that in live time on the other end, and continue to provide that warm handoff support for our families that is so critical. We want to make sure that they're walking away understanding that they're both eligible for services, who they know, where they can go to, who they can talk to, and an expected timeline. And so that's a little bit more about the infrastructure and how we measure where we're going to go next, right? Looking at what impact have we made and where are we still seeing those gaps, where are the agencies and services that are providing for that. Next slide. Just some engagement. This is a little bit older just to look at the 23-24 school year. But I like this slide to be able to see between Webster and Southwood some of the things that our wellness coordinators are doing. They're doing a great job of screening our families, getting them plugged in, and again, pointing out that yes, this is looking at vision screening, dental screening, and mental health referrals and some of the programs that we use. But all of these families are then assessed for social determinants of health, that social needs assessment as well. So far beyond vision, dental, mental health, and primary care, they're receiving all of those other services that we offer that are available in their community as well. Next slide. Some pictures here of our community partnership schools. You can go on, next slide. And I will close this. I know I was rushing towards the end, but I will close this with my favorite quote. I keep it as my background on my computer, and I also say it at the end of every presentation. I get the pleasure of giving. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And that is often how we start in our communities. That's how the community partnership school model started. And now look at where we come from, our small communities, after you all have done the hard work and built and built and built. We're now, there's, I think, over 400 people invited to this meeting. And so keep that good work going. This is how we impact so many of our families and change their lives for better. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. And Paige is going to share her information in the chat for anybody that wants to touch base with her. Care Connect, a unique model for social determinants of health. We will now transition to Ms. Veronica Glazier with our Unlimited Potential Initiative to talk about our training academy.
Hi, thanks, Alexius. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Veronica. I am on the program coordinator for the Unlimited Potential Initiative here at the center, and I'm excited to talk to you about the Training Academy today. So first things first, most of you should have received an invitation to the Training Academy this morning if you were not already enrolled in it, or if you'd been previously invited and not accepted that invitation. So that email would look something like that first block there. You would hit that Get Started button, and that would allow you to continue your registration. We did send out directions on how to register. Amanda sent them out yesterday, and I will also drop that in the chat in a PDF after I'm done with this presentation here. We can click to the next slide. So here we have a list of our resource library pages. This is what's currently available on our Training Academy. It is ever growing, so as things evolve, things will show up more and more, such as today we will add this training to the Training Academy later, and I will show you that when I share my screen in just a few minutes. Anyone who is in our old Training Academy may have been used to something called a resource hub. So this is where we took all that old information and we've transferred it into the Training Academy now. So you'll see all of that here. And if you see something missing that you previously had and now you're like, I don't know where to find it anymore, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to try and move that along to our new resource library here. We just want to note that this section is a great place to find things for onboarding. So as you're bringing on new staff or new partners, you'll find different things here that may be useful to share with them so they can gain knowledge on CPS or just community schools as a whole. Next slide. And then here we have a list of our Training Academy learning modules. The bolded ones are live and available. The italicized are going to be live coming soon. So we're working on those. They're just a general idea of what to expect. So you will be able to see at least our community schools foundations, collaborative leadership, CPS 101, CPS reporting, CPS advocacy went out to a small group of people, so that's not available for everyone. And then we have our UPI 101 for our unlimited potential side of the project. Next slide. So real quick, before we move on, we're going to take a look at the Training Academy. So I'm going to share my screen. If you guys will allow me to take over for a second. All right. So here, this is what it's going to look like when you open up the link to the Training Academy. You're just going to log in with your email password. This will be after you've created your account and registered. So I'll hit login. That will take me to my dashboard. So as someone who is in both the old Training Academy and the newer one, I will see both of them here. This archived is the old. It will be fully removed in March, so you will no longer have access to this here. But we are going to be looking at this Community Schools Training Academy, new Training Academy, as we've been calling it. So when I click on there, we'll see all of our resources or all of our buttons that we'll call them here. We have our learning modules, our resource library, and our info and support. So if we click onto our learning modules, it's going to bring up a page that looks similar to this, depending on what role you have and what access you have to different modules that we've created. So here we have, for instance, our Community Schools Foundation. So you'll see all the lessons that are part of this module. And this is a self-paced module. So I could go in, do lesson 1. If I need to take a break, something comes up in my day I can't finish, I can always come back to it here. I would just go to the module page, open this up, and click wherever I stopped. So I could go in, for instance, into lesson 3, just to show you kind of what it looks like. So this is our Community Schools Foundations. We can see here, we would just go through, do our little activities, watch a video, and then continue on. And if I need to take a break, I'll go back to my modules page later. So this is kind of a view of our learning modules section. Then we have our resource library. So if I click into our resource library, this is what we saw that list of previously. So we have different tiles here that will break down the sections. So for instance, we have our community school foundation resources, our asset mapping and needs assessment resources, and it goes on and on from here. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to come back and see information on Alexius's bike analogy, right? We would go and click into this partner network calls. And then there will be a button here after today's town hall that will be specifically for town halls, such as this one, where we will upload all the resources and things that we talked about today, PDFs, videos, all the presentations and things like that. Another useful one I wanted to just show real quick is we have our grant management page. So if you are doing grant management stuff and you're like, hey, I have a question, we can go in, look up something like the CPS data glossary or asset mapping templates. All these things can be found here. So if you, again, you don't see something that you need, feel free to let us know. But we're hoping that this has pulled in a lot of resources that we know are kind of out in the wild that now are in one place. And the last little bit we'll look at is our info and support. So if I click that, it'll bring up a page with our Training Academy email support. That'll just link you to us so you can email us with any questions you have. If you have concerns about something you see on a page, or if you're like, hey, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? Feel free to email us. We also have the user guide. So this is a walkthrough that will show you information on how to walk through the Training Academy. If you need to figure out how to use a module, how to use a lesson, anything like that, that's all going to be in here. Again, you're always welcome to ask us though. And the last thing is our UCF directory. So if you're trying to contact any of us, this page has everyone's information from the entire center. And so, for instance, if you're like, hey, that Veronica girl did a thing today, I have a question, you can go on. There's my email address. Send me an email and I'd be happy to answer it for you. So that is just a rough idea, a very short recap of our training academy that we're very excited to be outrolling to all of you today. Again, Old Training Academy will end in March. So please, if you have anything in there that you still want to grab, do that before then. If you need a resource, again, let us know. And I will drop my info in the chat in case you have any other questions. And I will pass it back to Alexius.
Thank you, Veronica. I forgot to mention during our agenda that we do have a quick break. So we will break now until 4:10, and then we will come back. And then we'll go into some this is a session we really need your participation. It's going to be breakout sessions. So we look forward to seeing you back at 4:10. Welcome back as we all get situated. We can advance slides, team. All right. So we have 3 breakout rooms, and we've designated you guys to go into specific breakout rooms, and you guys can see the breakdown there on the screen. So 1, 2, and 3. Find your school and then join that specific breakout room. If you have trouble, I'm gonna stick back, myself and Amanda, and we will make sure we put you in the correct breakout room. So you can go ahead and join that breakout room. It's going to be a 15-minute breakout room, and then we'll come back to the major group. All right, you can head over there now.
In case you're having trouble, I noticed on my screen that I had to scroll past several participant names and that the room selections were at the very bottom.
Thank you, Jody.
Alexius, are you ready to share your screen?
Sorry, as a partner, I'm with Second Harvest. Should I be in one of those or do I just hang out here?
Is that Brianna?
Yes,
Which school are you associated, or schools are you associated?
several. Endeavor Elementary and Brevard. We're with College Park and East River or East Marion, I mean. Eccleston, Torrey T, Campbell. Most of
Okay.
them in Central Florida.
Yeah, let's go with number 2.
Okay.
Alexius, can you assist me with hopping into number 2?
Yes. Brenda, yes, gotcha.
Thank you.
If anyone else needs assistance, you can go ahead and put it in the chat and I can put you in the right room, or Alexius can, either way.
Sean Smith.
Hi, sorry. I need assistance getting to breakout room number 2. This is Dante Pitts.
Gotcha, Dante. Anyone else need assistance?
I got Kayla, Dr. Hershey. I'm not sure which school you need to be in or which room you need to be in. If you could help me with that, I'll get you there.
Sorry, I'm late joining back, so I'm guessing I should be in group 1.
Andrea Hagan. Yes.
Alexius, are you able to put me in there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I got Dr. Hershey. I've got Dan. So far, it looks like there's just Miss Roster, Christopher Casanova, Devin Merritt, Judith, Melissa McCulloch, Mia, Sylvia. Those are the ones that have not entered breakout rooms.
Skylar, I'm going to put you in room 3. Is your login name different than your name on the screen? What is it?
It'll probably show up as Ayana.
No, gotcha. Actually, I don't see Ayana. I have a 22813. No, there's a 22813 here.
Oh, that's not me.
Okay.
On here it says Skylar and it has the school but after it.
Let me see if I can do it for you. All right, we're going to get to the bottom of it. So the only names I have left are 22813, Melissa McCullough, the Otter AI, and then obviously my team.
Yep, I don't know who 22813 is. And then I just assigned Melissa McCullough and then Sylvia's note taker. I'm assuming that's just the AI situation. So it's 22813, which is
I think that's you, Skylar. I'm gonna put you in 3. Let me know if it works, and if not, we'll come back.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Nope, it wasn't you.
And this is what happened to me.
No problem. We'll get it figured out.
I see her in another list. What room does she need to go in? I can try.
3.
3.
Let me try.
Yeah. Thanks, Veronica.
Thanks for bringing
I couldn't even find the name. So I'm trying to navigate and kind of funny.
Perfect. Got it.
Yep. Here we go. Cool.
All right. If y'all are gonna stay here, I'm gonna bounce around, but I will send out a 5-minute warning at 4:20.
Okie doke. Thanks.
We got cut off right in the middle of the good stuff.
Oh man, yeah, I was witnessing some of it. Our apologies. We'll go back and review everything on the Padlet, and I'm sure y'all are having some healthy conversation. If we don't necessarily have time for share outs, but if anybody wanted to drop anything in the chat for the good of the group, that would help other groups, you can definitely add it to the chat. We can skip ahead, controller to two slides ahead. So takeaways you can drop in the chat. We do have a Zoom poll that's going to pop up on your screen. We do want to find the best time for an All Partners Institute. So go ahead and run the Zoom poll now. And if you guys can respond, we'll get a live response. We are looking for kind of best time of year for the All Partners Institute.
And just to put out there, thinking about the testing season as well as you answer, knowing your school and what you experienced within each month.
Is there July?
So we are pretty much blacked out toward the end of the fiscal year. So this is the best time frame. These are the best time frames for us.
Also, just to put it out there, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be on the beach, and enjoying the sun in July. No one's going to want to attend a conference.
Yeah,
That's
taking
what I'm
family
thinking.
vacations and stuff like that. Absolutely.
I see tons of results coming in. February looks like is winning. Team, keep an eye on that. We'll continue to let people vote. We have about 15 more participants to vote if you get a second. So we'll get those results. We can go ahead to the next slide. So in addition to Padlet, so we have all of our references. As I mentioned, we're going to give you a circle back. We know it's a little tiny, but we want to show you all the evidence-based research that we infuse into today's training. And for you to have it at your disposal, right? So if you want to use these things, read deeper into them, they're valuable tools. And anytime you have any questions about any references or any documentation, you can always check with us. We have an assessment and evaluation department, and we'll make sure we connect you to the right people. We can advance. So we're at the end. We want to say thanks to everybody, but we don't want you to go before you do our survey. So if you can take our survey, this is very valuable to us because we use all of your feedback to inform our decisions, right? So we practice continuous improvement as well. I'm going to pause because I know I get preachy sometimes. I'm going to pause for a moment of silence so you can do those surveys. But that is one of our most valuable things to get done before we end today. So we'll give a minute or two.
Alexius, in opening up the survey, should we just say other and then say like all
So
partners?
other than the town hall, or just type in town hall.
All town hall would be the answer. Okay, town hall is one of the responses.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and what I'll do as we are wrapping up, I said I wasn't going to talk through your survey, but I'm going to hand it to Mr. Jabars Yarns, our lead TA, to close us out.
I mean, yeah, put me on the program to close us out. Fantastic. We want to say thank you to each and every person that found it not robbery to jump on this particular meeting today. We took a lot of time and effort, and we want to be intentional about how we spend our time together and bringing everybody in the same room at the same time, getting the same message. And so we want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your participation. And thank you for overall like your partnership because it means the most to us as we get down the road and do the work. We have to do the work hand in hand. We cannot do the work without each other, and this is part of that. So, with that being said, make sure you complete the survey because we do look at the results, we do bring them back, and this is how we improve our conferences. This was one of the ways that we created an improvement. For those that don't know, we created this the town hall so that we could be a little bit more efficient with our time, but more specifically with your time. in your space. So we do take these surveys seriously. So please make sure that you take care of that. And with that being said, I'm good. If you all are good, and again, we appreciate each and every last person that jumped on today to just partner with us as we get through this information and as we advance community partnership schools.
Thank you, guys. Be well.